What up, anime fans? Gozen here, and time for another review, cause you know, why not? So today we're discussing Orange. Just kidding, guys, this isn't a Code Geass spin-off. This is about Ichigo Takano's slice of life romance, Orange, aka the time-traveling, letter-writer's depressed almost boyfriend, Desu. Now, if you haven't watched, I'll do a quick spoiler-free review before I get into the good stuff. And just in case you're a dude thinking, oh man, slice of life romances are so gay, never fear, there's time travel. So when your bros ask you why you're watching that slice of life romance that is geared towards teenage girls, you just tell them, I watch it for the time travel. Bruh.
It's so cool! Son of a bitch!
I rest my case. But in all seriousness, it's not really about the time travel. Time travel is done well, but it's not foreground, it always stays in the background, so don't expect a Steins Gate going into this one. Onward to the story. Orange is a manly, tear-inducing story about Naho, a super shy small-town high school girl, and her friends. Their lives forever change when Kakeru, a transfer student from Tokyo, enters their lives. What's crazy about this is that Naho gets a letter that was written in her own handwriting that accurately predicts Kakeru's arrival. This letter is actually from her future self, and future Naho wants present Naho to follow her instructions carefully in order to save Kakeru from his own depression. This story is just as much about the rest of the friends as it is about Naho and Kakeru. The anime does a great job with making us really care about all of these characters. Personally, I like Suwa and Hagita even more than Kakeru. So that's it for the spoiler-free synopsis, guys. If you haven't watched it, I do recommend that you go watch it right now and then come back here for the juicy analysis. Alright, so you've been warned. Past this, you're entering the spoiler zone. Let's start with the music, the soul of every great field trip. Now, in my opinion, the music wasn't great. At best, I was indifferent to it. But at worst, it actually detracted from the viewing experience. It gets less bad as you go on, but during the first episode, the song called Curry Pan was off-putting and out of place in my opinion. It knocked me out of the story instead of immersing me into it. The music could also be one of the reasons that I preferred the Orange manga over the anime. Just look at Clannad. Through the music, Jun Maeda gives your soul goosebumps. But here, I consider myself lucky if the music wasn't in the way. This wasn't always the case, but the music definitely didn't wow me, and I didn't feel like looking up these songs after the anime, like I did with animes like Anohana or Clannad. And the animation was sometimes beautiful. Most of the time it was beautiful, but sometimes it looked like this. And they definitely shit the bed throughout episode 9. The inconsistency was problematic because the great moments made the bad moments look even worse by contrast. That, like the music, did distract me from the story. Again, the main thing that a show should aim to do is immerse you in its world. But because of its inconsistencies, Orange failed to suspend my disbelief at times. Now, this wasn't always the case, especially during the emotional parts of the anime and the important parts. At those times, the animation was on point. Possibly because of the issues, I dropped the series before picking it up a month or two later. I did not feel the need to binge watch like I felt when I was watching some of my favorite animes like Clannad, Code Geass, or Death Note. However, if you can push through some of the slower parts, the story, and especially the last episode, is very satisfying. I would say that the best part of this anime is the story and its characters. I read the manga and I loved it before watching the anime, so this didn't really come as a surprise to me. But you really start to care about these characters. Naho is cripplingly shy at first, but she pushes herself to do things that even the most confident girl would have trouble doing, like confessing her feelings point blank to Kakeru, and near the end, she continuously tries to instigate conversations and dates with Kakeru despite his consistent rejections. Some may say that Naho is unrealistically shy, but I don't think so. She is continuously pushing her comfort zone and going against her natural disposition. I'm sure that for her, in the beginning especially, being assertive was so unnatural that it felt like jumping out of a plane. It's unbelievably difficult to go against your emotions, but she does it anyways, and the process transforms her into a completely different person by the end. This transformation is symbolized in the way she runs past Ueda-senpai in the last episode to give Kakeru the smushed chocolates. She is no longer willing to be pushed around by Ueda-senpai, and she no longer lets the little things stop her or bother her. She even leaves a note for Kakeru in his locker telling him to wait, not asking but straight up telling him to not go home. She is finally being assertive and she is no longer willing to leave things to chance. To me, this change, though more realistic and more subtle, is just as meaningful and impressive as Simone's transformation in Gurren Lagann or Ippo's transformation in Hajime no Ippo. Through Naho, Orange flips the damsel in distress trope on its head. It is Naho who must step up and save Kakeru, and she totally does. So I guess that would make Kakeru the damsel in distress. I think that Orange handles gender conventions in a great way. It challenges gender conventions, but not in an absurd, over-the-top way, like in Frozen, where Anna has to actually punch Hans in the face at the end of it. The challenging of gender conventions is done right, and even when it's the guys' turns, it's believable. When we see Suwa or Hagita or Kakeru cry, it's completely believable and it completely makes sense that they would in that context. And then we have Kakeru, who is so depressed and unhappy, it's almost like he walks straight out of a Weeknd song. So yes, Kakeru can be a crybaby, but I mean he has real reason to be. His mom killed herself and he finds himself to blame. He thinks he is responsible. So I mean, we can say whatever we want, but who wouldn't be a depressed wreck if they were in his shoes? Whether it's out of sadness or happiness, guys cry in the anime, and it's not seen as abnormal or something to be frowned upon, and that's how it should be. It's made clear in the series that one reason Kakeru died in the future timeline is because he didn't share his feelings, but repressed them. It is only through the subversion of conventional gender roles that Kakeru can be saved. This is true in the anime, and perhaps the author is suggesting that it is no less true in modern-day Japan with its high suicide rates. Whether a girl is courageously trying to save a boy's life, or a boy is crying because of his mother's death, this slice of life doesn't feel forced and maintains a sense of realism, despite the fact that there are time-traveling letters. Nothing about this story feels cheap or phony, and the ending is all the better because it refuses to be a fairy tale or they live happily ever after type of ending. In the end, all of the gang's efforts are rewarded, and Kakeru escapes death, though barely. We don't know what will happen. Will Kakeru try to take his life again? Will Naho marry Kakeru? Will she end up with Suwa, like she said in the future timeline that she will? What will Suwa do if the love of his life ends up with another guy? None of these questions are answered, but that's the way it is in real life too. For the time being, it's enough to know that the future can be changed, and that the gang will continue to do everything they can to make sure Kakeru is saved. I'm happy to know that no matter what happens in the present timeline, in the future timeline, Suwa and Naho will end up together. And they'll have little baby Kakeru. And that timeline will be unaffected because the multiple timeline theory, which is also used in Steins Gate.
It's so cool!
And how about Suwa? Suwa's story is perhaps the most tragic in my opinion. He can't be with the girl he loves because that would mean losing Kakeru. So either he has to give up on Kakeru or give up on his own happy future. Being the selfless, lovable guy he is, he puts others before himself. He loves Naho so much, and yet he continues to do everything in his power to set her and Kakeru up. The episode where he stays home because he knows that the future him confesses his feelings for Naho on that Christmas night is one of the best examples of his self-sacrificing ways. He knows that he can get the girl he loves if he just goes, but he refuses to put his happiness ahead of Kakeru's. For this reason, Suwa will forever be remembered as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, wingman in anime history. Props. Last but not least, I do want to talk about Hagita. Hagita is actually one of my favorite characters in the whole anime. It is amazing how someone with so little screen time makes such a lasting impression. His quirkiness is fucking hilarious. I loved his back and forth with Azu. They're the real dream couple. I loved his awkwardness. I laughed my ass off when he insisted that Kakeru take his glasses for good luck, when he randomly hugged Kakeru, and when he broke Kakeru's spike. That was probably one of my favorite moments in anime history. In conclusion, the story is a great one. The anime does a good job of being faithful and adapting the manga to an anime, but the inconsistencies I talked about in the actual music, the pacing, and in the animation as well takes away from an otherwise solid story with realistic and likable characters. Although the anime I definitely recommend and is definitely worth a watch, I do think that the manga is the better way to experience this one.
So there it is, guys. That was my orange review. I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know what you think happened in the present timeline. And yeah, if you like this, be sure to subscribe for more content. And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.